We're so glad to have you. Just here in the conference in general, because like when we talked about, we're wraparound people, subject matter experts, and we support it. But we've talked about technology in the future, and like wraparound's always been on the cutting edge of like trying to do something different and innovate. And so, anyways, super excited to have you guys here and a part of this podcast. Tell us a little about who you are, Stephanie.
Stephanie Sylvester. I'm co-founder of AvatarBuddy, and AvatarBuddy is an AI company that makes function-specific AI agents and digital twins to help employees excel, bring their A game, so that they can work on higher order tasks that brings profitability, reduce costs, and excel at work, and then ultimately excel in at home and in the community.
Let's go. How did you get there?
How did I get into it?
Yeah, how did you get there?
Avatar Buddy started because I misheard somebody. I thought I was at a loud restaurant. We were talking, and they said something, and I said, "Oh, let's create digital mentors." I've used technology to help solve business problems. Why not use technology to solve social problems?
Hmm. Here we are. Beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. Why don't you tell us about yourself, Miss Allison?
Hi, my name is Allison Austin, and I have a dual role. One, I serve as a life coach. In my, I work with an organization called Educate Tomorrow. Educate Tomorrow is a nonprofit that focuses on uh, youth aging out of the foster care system and youth experiencing housing insecurity, homelessness. And in that role, I launched a program called Finding Your Power, Purpose, and Presence. And it was specifically to create and host space for young women who are experiencing all kinds of trauma and childhood trauma, which we know is not that uncommon for young people coming out of the foster care system. But prior to doing that work in partnership with Educate Tomorrow, I have a training company that's called Ava Within, and it is working with women, grown women who still haven't healed the child. And we know that if we don't heal the child, the woman will never thrive. And so these two things were in direct alignment with each other. And both, frankly, motivated by my relationship with Kendrika, who I started mentoring when she was 15, almost 16. And I was working at a CEO at a community organization where I had to touch all of these young people who were having all of these issues. And so this model of finding your power, purpose, and presence was creating a space and tools and compassion to help these young people um, move through that in a way that brought them to victory on the other end. And so Ken is now all grown up and now in her own right, a very competent success coach.
Let's go. Awesome. Well, thank you. Why don't you tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that? What is that? What
Give
is
it to me
that?
again. Power,
Power, purpose, and presence. We call it P3. And we've now in year 12 of that model. And every year we bring a small cohort of 8 to 10 women who are literally transforming their lives. The whole focus is to recognize that the mind has to shift before the behaviors, the actions, the beliefs happen. And we're watching it happen. And Ken is just an amazing example of when you trust yourself enough to make the change, everything exponentially enhances. It's powerful. Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's Tracy's real smile face.
Yeah.
That's he's having a moment.
It's good stuff.
I am. I have girls of my own, young ladies of my own, and I can't wait for them to hear this.
Oh,
I can't wait to
it's
share
good
this
stuff.
with them and share the. I can't wait to hear Miss Ken's story and
Yeah.
share it
Yeah.
because those words are beautiful.
It,
and
it
super-
shifts.
Very powerful.
Yes,
Very
thank you.
powerful.
Thank you.
Well, hello, my name is Kendrika King. I am a success coach for Educate Tomorrow. I'm a first time college graduate in my family with a bachelor's in psychology from FIU, and I'm a first time mom of a 2-year-old.
Florida International University. Everybody don't know what FIU is.
Thank you.
Florida
Thank you.
International.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
All right.
Alum in the house.
And a mother of a 2-year-old. And I was in the first year of P3 in 2014.
Something.
Yeah. In 2014, but as Miss Allison mentioned, I've been her mentee since I was about 15, turning 16. And we've done a lot of this P3 shadow mirror work throughout our journey. So it's that work that got me to where I am today.
Beautiful. You just dropped in the shadow mirror work like it's nothing. That's hard work.
No,
Yes.
it is definitely hard work, but the only way through it on the only way over it is through
Do
it.
it. Beautiful.
And I had to know how to sit in some of my stuff before I was able to face it to be able to be the person that I am today.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Real talk.
Okay, y'all doing something to me now. Y'all about
I
to do
told you.
something to me. Y'all about to do something to me. Those are wow, those are powerful words.
And what we know is
Yes.
when you speak it, you embrace it. Anything that follows I am is an invitation. So when you say, I am successful, I am a success coach, you are declaring it and owning it. And that's what we help these young women understand, to move from victim to victor. And the work is so intense that we had to think about, people kept asking us, how can you scale this? Right? How can you bring this to other cities? And as trainers, you do the best you can, but you can't be everywhere. And Stephanie and I have been friends a long time, and we go back to our work as women leaders in United Way and all of these different areas. And we would, have wine in my backyard and figure out how to save the world. And when she started working on this work, she would drive all of us crazy. Like, Stephanie, what are you even talking about? Like, give us a minute. I mean, we have
Yeah.
friends that still look at her like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But she was so passionate and driven about what she wanted us to understand about what she was doing that when we decided to partner, it really began as, how can I help my friend um, realize her dream? And as we really start thinking about how to do it and how to use it, Ken and I were talking about this last night. It was more than just how I help my friend. It was clearly, how do we create a shift in the world that allows us to do something together that supports all of the work that we do. And that's really what allowed me to submit to the conference and bring this marriage together. And we were really very proud when you guys accepted our proposal.
We were really proud that you guys came.
Yeah,
and you
great.
applied and you're here.
No, it was good stuff.
Why don't we talk a little bit about what your guys' dream is and what you're trying to build together? And not dream, it's real.
It's
It's not just a dream anymore, right?
Dream
It's
real life.
Dream real life.
Yeah.
So I can say how we married, and then I'll let Stephanie talk
Yeah.
about the technology of the work. So what we know and what science allows us to remember is that for any young child to be successful, you talk about having girls, is that there has to be a consistent adult presence in their lives. And that's what I represented for Ken. Even though her mother was around, she was not present. And as we grew together in our trust of each other, um, I didn't even realize in the moment what I was doing. What I was doing is showing her unconditional love. What I was doing was shifting her to believing in herself to find her own power. And so that was sort of a outgrowth, not an intention. When we became more aware of how helping her see what I saw. And when she got it, I mean, she can talk about the aha moments. When the aha moments happened, we hugged, we cried, we laughed. It was all of it. But as we start talking about how to do more, I mean, so much so she wanted to do what I was doing. So I want to be a coach like you, Miss A. I want to travel like you, Miss A. So you were even the role model. But when Stephanie started talking about this way of sharing this on a deeper level across lots of all of the women that we touched, it made me pause and say, well, maybe this is a possibility. Let's think about what that looked like. And that's how these digital twins were born. And she will tell you how it was put together, but the outgrowth of it is these young women now who we touch through coaching can have access to us all the time, access to the wisdom all the time, access to the coaching all the time, access to not having somebody there, but I'm in crisis right now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I bet not call Miss A. But I'm feeling really sad and low and depressed. But if I ask the avatar buddy, what can I do right now? I'm sad. And the avatar buddy says, well, let's process that feeling. And that's what it will say to him. And you can go back and forth and process the feeling. And at the end of maybe an hour, what they tell me is the urgency of the pain is gone. The feelings of anxiety are reduced. And the last thing, most times, the avatar will say, reach out to Miss A when you get time. So it's not that it's just talking to a computer, it's validating how you feel, it's bringing you to a place of relaxation. And as Ken will talk about the work we do, because you got to know the difference between responding and reacting. Because it's in those moments of pause when you can get there, you can bring yourself breathing, all kind of techniques that brings you to a place of calm, and now you can make some different decisions.
And so Avatar Buddy started with the concept that if you have one loving adult in your life, you can overcome any trauma. However, if you don't have loving adult in your life, no matter how many resources you have access to, you'll still be a broken person. And we know what happens when broken people get into positions of power and authority. And so as we have been developing this, and to Allison's point, it started in 2016. Nobody knew what I was talking about. Even my developer was insisting that what I was trying to do was not possible. And he finally came around in 2020 when during COVID, when he had nothing else to do, and he started digging into what it is that I was talking about. And he's like, "Oh, that's what she's talking about." And and so I was very passionate, and I believe that if I can think about something, it can be done, because I am not the smartest person in the room. So if I can think it, it can come to life. And we're really excited about the evolution of our digital twin. So in 2016, there was a digital twin created by the wife of the founder of Sirius XM, and that digital twin cost $180,000 and 6 months to complete, and had maybe 20% of her likeness. And fast forward to 2023, and Avatar Buddy has figured out how to create the same interaction for taking 5 effort hours, costing about $10,000 per year. Just a massive. So if we took that $180,000, that means you can create a digital twin that will last 180 years, or you can create 180 digital twins. Just imagine the impact in the world. And we're having just amazing and incredible response to it. And we are also launching a program where we're using it to preserve Black history, and creating, being intentional about ensuring that the twins and the leaders that the people in the Black and brown community have look like them and have the same experience. So just imagine the next level of power that will come out of that. And it's all around design to making sure people can see themselves in the future, see themselves when they talk to somebody, getting encouragement where they're at, when they need it. And that goes a very long way. And even though it sounds like we're replacing humans, the way we're doing it is ensuring that you always have to have a human in the loop. So our solutions designed to augment and amplify existing people, not replace them. So there are a number of safeguards that needs to have put in place that our AI doesn't do, because we expect that the human that's using it and the human that's directing the person that's using it will implement those safeguards. So you can't just say, I'm going to get rid of all my therapists and all my counselors, and I'm just going to deploy AI agents and digital twins. It won't work.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? Just 2 or 3 days ago, I was working with one of the young women who I coach, and she was struggling because her dad had been in prison 10 years and he just got home. And he was married to a woman who had mistreated her as a child. And she was upset that her dad was going back to this wife. But so she called because she said, I just had to spend Father's Day in this family environment and it was awkward and I was unhappy. And we were talking about those feelings. And right there in the moment, I said, well, ask the AI what it thinks about this. Because you and I are working through it. And she, we formulated the question and she asked it. And she immediately chuckled and she said, oh, AI making jokes. But it sounds just like you, Miss A. And so that was one of the features that we added to it, was the sense of humor. But doing the two things together seriously brought her to this place of calm, of recognition, of awareness, and a plan for how we could now move forward without you being triggered every time you have to visit your dad at a place that brought back all of those childhood memories. So the the relationship and the partnership is really valuable because there are others who are still nervous that AI is going to replace humans. But we are learning how to use it in partnership and seeing real results from it.
I'm really appreciating the kind of the authenticity and the vulnerability of this youth, the end user kind of experience that you're talking about. And again, I keep thinking about the people in my lives, or the people that I've even worked with, and how this can be in alignment with their network of support, right? So again, not in an not augmenting that, but in alignment with. And like you're saying, let's go, let's go together. Let's see what this is happening. What does this look like? So we're coming up with a plan. We're doing this together, because I may not always be here. I may not, we may not always be here, and you're learning. This is another tool in your toolbox.
Absolutely.
So I'm loving hearing that.
And it's interesting because some of the responses were things I would have said, but some of it were things I hadn't even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's helping me expand in some of the spaces. What's been your experience with the women you're coaching?
I was about to ask, what are some of those other experiences you talk to us about?
With the women I'm coaching, or with AvatarBuddy?
Well, the combination.
So, because of my experience, my lived experience of just adversity, trauma, low self-esteem, feeling abandoned, not feeling worthy enough, and the work that I've did with Miss Allison over the years, just being her mentor, and then being able to have this opportunity to be in a more structured environment with the teachers that she was giving me, which became P3 at the time, and noticing how much of impact it made on me and how transformative all of this information and this engagement was. It inspired me, like she said, to
Ken coaching everybody. Her
to
mother,
follow.
everybody. Everybody's calling it.
They don't even call you Kendrick no. They call you Coach.
Coach Ken. I mean, even her mom, and that's such a great story all on its own. That they were always at this, and when Ken rose above it and started recognizing, I can go to my mom with the fight, or I can go to my mom with the love, because now that's an awareness that I've got options. It don't always have to be about the fight.
Well, and I'm wondering how you're extra equipped now with your AI too, with your buddy. So like double, right?
Yeah, so that's what this idea of just having been through that, working with Miss Allison, being a part of P3, and reflecting on how all of that have been transformative for myself and impacting like how I shared and wanting to share that with so many other people in the same way it was impactful to me. That's how we got to this whole 3D coaching with a digital twin, because it allowed us to do this three-dimensional coaching, which we do in P3, looking at the person holistically, past, present, and desired outcomes. and how do we give this information and give other people this space and platform to be able to access that type of safe space, that non-judgmental space, that supportive space, that inclusive space 24/7. And that's how we came up with these digital Allisons and Ken. Because as a success coach, I work with a lot of student parents, a lot of students that's former foster care, former homeless, that's still lifing.
Yeah.
And life keeps lifing. And
Right.
in the midst of it is every second they're like you said, it's Coach Ken. They're like, let me go to my coach. Let me go to my coach. But being a full-time mom and having a life of my own, we needed this extra tool in place that allowed them to have a second resource in the toolbox or
It's a
the
natural
first
support.
resource. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And I'm thinking how
You know, the time,
amazing
I'm counting.
that this might be, right? And so I'm looking and I'm picking up my friend. I'm just like, well, what something's going on. What could I do? What how might I ask? And so even if it was maybe something questionable, I might really check with Coach Ken and be, check it out a little bit at first because I might have issues of trust or whatever initially, but not for that. But it sounds just like Coach Ken.
Absolutely.
Right? It sounds like
That's
Coach Ken.
100%. That's the part that makes it.
I
really
think
simple.
that's the
Start
almost
to
easier
grow.
part to understand. I think the harder part to understand for folks is like the magic behind the scenes and like how do we control that now? Everybody's fears. So I kind of. What do you think, Steph?
So that's where companies like AvatarBuddy comes in, because we're not just giving you a tool and then say knock yourself out. We're partnering with you to ensure that you don't have to get into the weeds of understanding AI to maximize it. So it's a partnership. So like as we're doing the presentation, there are pieces of the presentation clearly I can't do. There are pieces of the presentation they can't do. But together we have a holistic presentation, and that's our business model. We're partnering with organizations. We're telling them, don't worry, we'll read the 10 and 15 AI newsletters each day. We're going to be at the forefront of the technology. We're going to come back and say, by the way, now here's this new thing that's going to make it even better. And it's continually optimize and optimize and optimize. And so then you can go about doing your job about wraparound,
Right.
and making sure that that is doing the impact. And now you go from how do I scale to, oh my goodness, when will I stop scaling? Because it just becomes just a natural part of what you do on a day-to-day basis. You come in, you do a training, you drop off the digital twins, you give them the curriculum. Excuse me, it's all inside the AI. The AI will consistently deliver the responses. And as Allison has just said, I just realized that like the level of humor that the AI can now do based on Allison's personality, it's pretty funny. I mean that's the kind of stuff that's it's really for me when I work on it and see people use it in ways that I didn't even think about using it. I feel like my work and my mission and the taking on the responsibility and accountability of figuring out the AI on behalf of these organizations. That's where I go to bed at night happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and it makes me wonder if we were to like play in the beautiful mind of Stephanie over there, like what is the next 10-year, 20-year? Like what is that we won't even we're sitting over here not understanding. What do you think that next
Okay, so in about 2 seconds, in about 5 seconds. So we are working at AvatarBuddy. It's a futuristic thing to create a personality chip that will help you regulate your emotions and manage your weaknesses and amplify your strengths by tapping into your biometrics and brain waves.
Hmm. How about that?
Mhm.
So what you're saying is you're thinking that like if I'm depressed, you're gonna throw off the waves in my brain so they're not depressed waves anymore, they're positive waves.
No, I'm more like will detect that the chip will detect that you're depressed and then say, hey, are you okay? And have a conversation with you so that you can be
So
realizing
you're still in control.
you are always in control. You have to have the human in the center
Yeah.
of the solution to make sure that it's responsible AI.
Well, we heard from Stephanie. What about you, Miss Allison and Kendrika? What do you think? Thinking from your coaching and like this growth mindset and the 3 Ps, what is 10 years from now? What does it look like?
I like to think it is a room full of women operating from a different level of awareness. And I'm saying women because that's where the
Hey,
focus.
we're good with it.
That's where that's where the focus lies. And, and because I am seeing it now, I can touch all of these women and they can touch each other because they've really created this broader and broader and broader circle of women that when I'm having an issue, I might try to explain it to a friend of mine, but they haven't been through this knowledge, so they don't really get it. But if I can reach out to one of these women who know what I'm talking about, all of a sudden now there's this peer coaching that's happening. And that part has been very powerful.
Reciprocal.
Very, very, very powerful. And the fact that in the room now there is comfort that I'm not alone in this experience where I have felt very alone.
That's deep.
It was my problem, and now it's like, what? All 30 of us have experienced that?
Yeah.
And what do you think? And what do you think? And what do you think? So that is what I'm seeing happening, and I'm really excited to see that part of it really grow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. What are you thinking, Jacob?
What am I seeing happening
Yeah.
10 years from now?
Yeah, you're probably, I'm going to be retired. I'm going to be out of here.
Clock that.
Come on now.
Me and
Well,
you.
truthfully, I feel like because of my lived experience and all of this wisdom that I've gained and just this time and space for me, that I really want to propel my podcast into becoming something big. So I've been trying to start a podcast. I've been
We don't use that word.
Yeah,
just trying.
generative language.
I've been doing everything I need to do to launch a podcast called Grayvolution, which pretty much talks about this stuff and what it's like to be living in a gray area, which is where the growth happens at, because everything in life isn't black or white. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just letting it marinate for a minute, y'all. Sorry.
That's great.
I'm trained in that silence. This has been really great. And to have you women leaders here with us. We were just on our last show, it was 3 dads. So we were talking about how cool it was because it's not regularly we have that. And then now I'm sitting over here and like looking, not so much from the professionals you are all, but as women leaders, right? And it's so great to be in the couch with you.
you.
Can't
Thank
wait
you.
to tell my young ladies about you. I can't wait to get on the phone.
Let's have a conversation. Zoom creates all kind of opportunities.
yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
It sounds like we got a podcast to shout out. We'll make sure hopefully get that in the show notes. And make sure we should get that all out there. And we really appreciate y'all. And
Thank you
I think
so
my
much.
biggest takeaway to you is like that we can't take the human out of it, right? Because in some ways, like I'm ready to just get rid of like the human piece. But now I'm realizing, you know what, we just can't.
Human digital handshake is what we're ultimately wanting the world to embrace.
You are way beyond.
Yeah.
That is powerful. Some of the language you use today,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm writing that down. I'm writing that down. That's beautiful.
I can't wait to get in those 3 P's.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very. It is powerful when you see it happen. When you see it come to life, it's like, oh my God, did she just shift from I hate to I am? Okay.
And when you have a tribe that gets you, because they get to support you and motivate you and uplift you.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Ladies,
Thank you guys
so much.
Yeah, let's go. Bye.
Yay.
Let's go.
Thank you.